How's it going, everybody? Eddie Cooney again, and today I'll be talking to you about why cell phones should be considered tools rather than distractions from society. Now, the reason I want to talk about this is because I work for Geek Squad myself, and I use phones every single day as tools for technology, and I want to go more in depth of why we should consider it more of tools than how people kind of perceive them as distractions. Now, cell phones should be considered tools rather than distractions because we need to recognize that it's more than just social media. Social media is something that has taken over our society by storm, and we use it for that specifically. However, there are other purposes for those cell phones, like studying, for health related issues, research, things like that. They're designed to make your life easier. Cell phones are big game changers, and they have helped improve our lives in extraordinary ways that we would have never imagined. There are distractions, even though they are looked at or perceived as distractions. We're gonna make more use of them, and I'm gonna show you keys on how to use them more of tools. Now, technology is changing every day and will keep moving forward. Cell phones are at the top of the list for technology that will keep upgrading, keep changing. Every single year we see a brand new cell phone. We're going to keep seeing those. And the sky's the limit for those upgrades and for those cell phones to keep changing. All of us use cell phones every day. This has gotten to the point where it takes up a large chunk of our time, approximately, too. And whether it's for social media or research, most of our day is spent buried into that cell phone. I work with computer, cell phones, technology, tablets, all types of different computer-based items. So most of my day is spent on the phone doing research in order to fix most of the issues that I come to deal with at my job. So this is something that I'm near and dear to, and I want to go more in depth with. In order to realize what phones should mean to us, we need to go more in depth, find the purpose of what the cell phone was originally intended for, and the many different uses on each need to be classified. First, we're going to take a look at the primary uses of the cell phone, making sure to look at each asset that our phone gives to us. People look at cell phones as distraction from society. Now, this generally comes from more adult-like figures, elders. They see cell phones as a big distraction to us. So they look at it as more along the lines of something just to mess around with, whereas we do tend to use them more as tools. Believe it or not, even though social media is a big aspect of it, tools are what they're intended for. People use their cell phone every single day, still, regardless, however. Even though it is more of a social based item, there are so many more uses besides those social needs. 92% of Americans have a cell phone. 90% of them tend to use their cell phone each and every day. Cell phones have become a way of living, and we never want to put our phones down because of all the benefits that they do provide, such as those social media tendencies, research, health ways, and the list goes on and on and on. Americans in general tend to use their phones to basically blow time while waiting in lines if they feel awkward. It's more of a social thing. If they don't want to talk, they're going to be using their phones, which is generally what we see more and more of today. This happens to be a big problem with Americans, not just as a whole, but with a younger audience. Americans are looked at as very lazy people by each and every other society, and it is due to possible distractions such as phones or technology. This is coming from another perspective. Now, in my opinion, I think it is completely different. I see phones as a bigger tool, and I think it is there very, very useful for us. However, people can check their phones up to 110 times a day, and that number keeps growing with more cell phones that are given out, too, because of all the benefits are. Texting, of course, primary benefit of it. This is such a worldwide epidemic, not in just America, where people can't help but spend each and every minute of their day looking at their cell phone. It is an issue. We don't know how to utilize our phones in a proper manner. Speaking of, there are multiple people that tend to use their cell phones, just sit and use them. They're just so addicted to those. People don't know how to escape from this virtual reality in a way. So that's why we need to go over the benefits of what the cell phone is generally for. Cell phones are tools in disguise that people are having trouble with every day. Going back onto that same point. Cell phones are more than just a distraction, as people think they are. They are tools that we use every single day for things such as how to keep track of our health, researching specific items, and for so much more. Cell phones have moved up so much in society, they've been able to help keep track of health and keep pace of us moving. There are several different apps, several different tools. I have an Apple Watch myself that I use for health-related purposes each and every day, too, to keep track of my heart rate, to keep track of my steps, how many calories I've burnt. It helps with health more than anything, believe it or not. Life has become so much easier because of those technological advances. And it keeps people healthy, gives them new ways of actually being able to keep track of their health, and it just keeps building up and building up. Because of these technological advances, these have led to the makings of smartwatches that go hand in hand with that cell phone, both to keep improving the lives of several different people. Again, it'll tell you how many calories you've burnt, what you want to do, what improvements you need to make in order to burn certain calories, to eat healthier, so on and so forth. Cell phones are also valuable tools for teaching, researching certain items, and using them for things such as note cards, studying, and are perfect for making the lives of teachers so much easier. Now, not many teachers are doing it as much. Most teachers have a bit of a classic method of just going by the paper basis. Some, however, mainly in high schools, elementary schools, middle schools, are starting to go more towards technology. They're starting to have apps such as Quizlet, being able to use that, Kahoot, so many different applications in order to help kids study. It just makes things so much easier and makes life just a more beneficial for them, and it makes class fun because these kids want to use their phones all the time. However, they want to be able to also do something else with them. They want to be able to take their phones out, even though they're not going to be texting. They are tempted to text, of course. However, it is such a benefit to have these devices out to study, to make note cards, to do so much with. Perfect. And teachers can also use this to keep their classes up to date through apps such as Blackboard. It's just such a beneficial thing to do. You can send text notifications through certain applications as well. It just makes life much easier for the teacher and the student. Now, the next topic I'm going to touch on is what we can do in order to get the world out of these phones that can be, or to get word out that phones are more than just distractions from society. They are tools. They help us. They were designed to help us make our lives easier. With the advancements of technology, we need to figure out how to make people look at cell phones as more than just a social media device. Our lives have been made so much easier and will continue to be made easier if we can figure out specific purposes of what the phone means to people. Now, me being a technology savvy person, I know the benefits of technology. However, someone like my parents might not look at technology the same as I do. So it's my job to teach them and be able to tell them what benefits there are to that. Cell phones are primarily looked at as devices to take pictures with, post social media. That is far from what the cell phone is meant to do. Cell phones have so many added on purposes. Social media is one of those purposes. It is meant to be able to communicate with other people. Text messaging is one of those things that makes lives so much easier. And most young adults want to buy a cell phone to download all these social media apps such as Snapchat, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, in order to keep up with everything. There are so many advantages to having a cell phone rather than taking pictures, however, such as the health-oriented applications on the phone, such as Quizlet, such as Blackboard, such as everything to keep up with school, too. It's just been made so much easier. Rather than having adults and elders keep down talking cell phones technology, we should just be able to teach them what they're used for. I know my family and my grandparents always want to ask me questions about cell phones and how everything works, and I want to inform them. I want to make sure they're kept up to date, because this technology is going to keep changing, and it's the best thing to do is to make sure they know what's going to be going on. One thing that people don't want to do is teach others how to use technology. People just expect everyone to know everything. Because we know stuff, we think other people should know stuff. Not the case whatsoever. We need to inform other people what the technology is meant to do, what we are expected of that technology, what the technology is meant for. We need to teach people who don't know too much about technology. We need to teach them more about that. There's so many needs that adults and elders are missing out on. We need to bring technology more into their lives. Their lives will become so much easier, especially with health applications. Adults and elders do want to keep up with their paces, their track steps. They want to keep up with everything in order to maintain a healthier lifestyle. So we need to make sure they are kept up to track and up to date on that. Now that you've listened to my speech, you should know the benefits of the cell phone and how they make the quality of life much easier. You should be able to tell me how life has improved because of the use of smartphones, and what we can do to show adults, why technology needs to be part of their lives. We should be able to show everyone what phones are supposed to be used for and how they improve our lives with the unlimited amount of functions and technology that has been incorporated to cell phones. Possibilities are endless when it comes to cell phones. That's the fun thing about them. They're going to keep updating, they're going to keep upgrading, they're going to keep making our lives so much easier. So it's our job to actually inform everybody how these cell phones are used and what we can do in order to spread awareness about how cell phones have made life so much easier. My name's Eddie Cooney again.